Oh, yeah, we,
I don't have this.
I don't have it either.
What do you need?
There was a,
That when you start the video recording? Oh,
the little card was on the table when it,
yeah.
not here now though, and you don't have a copy of it, right?
It was hung right there?
All right, so this is a meeting of the Finance Committee, subject to being videotaped. Your image and the voice may be recorded. Holly, today is December 15th, 2021. All righty. Well, Chief, you look like you're just ready and raring to go. You're right here at the table and
We invited him up. Johnny on the spot.
I was trying to sit in the back.
wouldn't let you. Do we have any other business that we need to attend to before we? Okay. All right, my friend, you're up.
I want to start with the personnel side before we go into the capital side.
Sure.
Okay, the summary is pretty much self-explanatory there. The only increases a couple of vacation, I should say, correction, holidays. In case I come in on a recall during a holiday, like we had a fire or some serious incident where I had to come north and go over an incident. That hasn't been exercised before, it's just there just in case.
Right.
The 14,294.52, that's all directly related to the CBA that was recently signed by the union. And the 161 is a 2.5% increase of a non-union employee, the deputy chief, who does 4 hours a week with me. So it's like just increase that for him. He's budgeted 4 hours a week. So
Right, that's two. That's far less than two, I think.
it's not much, so it's like, and then two other things that were increased. One was the repair and maintenance. We're already like really close to, we just had one of those years where things are breaking, things need to be fixed. So it's like there, and also the 3,300 is in a fuel line, just if the prices keep going up on that and stabilize, that's just so that we cover that. Those are the only two expenses on the.
So the other services was the repair?
Yeah,
Okay.
repairs and maintenance and then fuel.
Right. Okay, well, that seems pretty straightforward. Does anyone have any questions for the chief regarding these pretty straightforward numbers?
So what was the percentage increases from the collective bargaining agreement with the new contract?
I don't know what the percentages.
Do we know what that?
There are no COLAs in this collective bargaining agreement. The union members get a step on their anniversary, so, but there is no COLA in addition to the step.
That's the only things that were the increases there, is like the TA said, was steps. There's some identified holiday increases there, and just whatever's directly that's in the CBA and has a cost associated with it.
We had to add, what is it, June 19th?
Juneteenth, I think they call it.
Yep.
Yep.
So I had to add. Okay.
Now, on the adjustments there are some things that I wanted to increase, and I was asked to do them separately on a separate piece of paper for increases for FY23. And there's one of them's already on there, and one was enhanced manpower operational capability. Last year, it came, and I come back with it again this year, for 19 shifts during the day when we're most busy.
I'm sorry, chief, what is this on? You're saying it's on a separate sheet?
Oh,
If you look on the back of the, is it on the narrative too?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, got it,
yeah.
They put that on one of the earlier summary requests, but they said move it. So it's like, our most challenging time to fill shifts and properly respond to calls is during the day. That's when most of our staff is out and away at their regular jobs. At night, I'm comfortable, we have the per diem group, which is working out fantastic. Those two people that are on in the evening. And then there's a duty group assigned 2 nights in a row, and there's 3 of them. So they have 2 nights and then 4 off. And they back up the per diem people on some of the calls that require additional manpower to fulfill that mission. And this is for during the day, is to like fill shifts when either the per diem person goes out or when either of the two career personnel go out. Right now, we scramble to fill the shift and we run late. And this will keep that, there was 19 shifts last year, day shifts that would fill and let us keep that manpower. Right now, and I'm sure everyone has heard here, is like, we're now running full. We had one of our members who wasn't operational, but within the last 6 to 9 months has become operational. He's a designated driver during the day. He's an unbelievable pump operator. The fire marshal, we took him out of the office and he completely agreed to do it and put him back on the street. And the operational dividends have been just fantastic. We had a real test, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago now on Gates Pond Road, and it was flawless what that first crew going in did. And it's like, they knocked that down and made an interior attack on a really heavily involved house. And it was because of the manpower that we had in that first truck. There was 3. There was the fire marshal driving, the lieutenant was on duty, and then the day per diem. So that gives us, it maintains that capability when one of those go off, rather than just having 2 on the piece. And Margaret's organization, the city managers, that's still only like at 67% efficiency when you have 3, but it's like something really good for Berlin, and it works out really good for us, and that's a good number for us to shoot for on the days that someone's off for sick or on vacation time or whatever they're off for. So that's what that 8904.
I'm sorry, Chief, is that 8904 in this number?
It is not, no, that's just, I was asked to present that separately.
Okay.
I can put that in if you want, but the mission was to do it separate. And then a half-time FTE starting in January 1st. And that would allow us to move the current lieutenant to a day position, put the FTE in after the FTE's got to go to the academy and get the training there. It's like 9 weeks. And when he comes back, put him on a day shift, and then put the lieutenant days, so we beef up that amount. The fire marshal's Monday to Thursday, the lieutenant would be Tuesday to Friday, 4 10.5-hour shifts. And so we'd have that coverage the daytime, and that's when most of our calls are the highest percentage.
So Chief Clark, if I'm understanding this on the, we had a problem in the past, we were short an individual who had both the FT and the EMT, and that has been fixed by the change of the fire marshal, right?
Yep, and the fire marshal is like me, he's a first responder. I gave up my EMT when I retired, so it's like, in thousands of, way too many, skulls. And so he's out on the street, but this would bring one more fire academy trained at a minimum an EMT to that shift, and would be during the day. That would allow us to, like the other day, we on a second call, I was on Central Street by myself. There was a severe bleed from a car accident, waiting for the medical ambulance to come in. So it's like, holding the guy, cervical C-spine, and that's the name of the game when you gotta do it. So it's like, so this would help us start to deal with the second calls. The first one's really good, and start with the second ones.
So like the 19 days, is that when people are just normally out?
Well, I looked at it from the time that I started here, and that's kind of roughly it ran from like 18 to just over 20. So I just took that average of 19 and put it right in the middle, and it's like, we just run short those days. We only have 2 in the house, so it's like, it just gives us that 3 on the engine, and I can do the command function.
Well, that's right, because you've got the 7 days, you've got the.
Yeah, it's 24/7. It's every day.
Got it, understood.
Yeah, so it just helps us meet that.
Yep.
Then the 161 that we had before, that we talked about on that, and then the 2.
Yeah, I'm questioning that's not enough money for, I don't understand.
He's only like-
2.5% of what?
Yeah, it's only like, there's 2.5% hopefully of, I forget what these go to, hold on. Like, I forget the number, it's just around 6,000, 6,400.
Oh, okay.
It's not much money, he's only 4 hours a week.
Oh, so the total, he's only 4 hours total, this is not
Right.
adding 4 hours.
No,
This is
4
deputy
hours,
chief, it's only
it's just
4
a
hours.
percentage at 2.5 for the non-union
okay.
to his.
Sorry, I was.
No, that's all, no, you should have explained it better. And then just the other thing is the expenses that we talked about before,
Right.
on the bottom. Any questions on that?
What was your numbers that you used for increasing gasoline, diesel? I mean, what was like the?
I just looked at what
price
we,
before?
what we've been, since we've seen the increases, I think it was back like about 4 or 5 months ago, we started the same climb. So I look at the increases that I have every month, and I just projected them out over a year. So it could go higher, might come off a little bit, I'm not sure. I just had to be like prepared for, if it stayed high, we could fund it and not have an issue. That simple, it's like not an accountant, so it's like I kind of looked at it like that, figure out roughly the projection that way.
You just increased repairs just because you're running short now and you wanna cover that moving forward, so I get that.
I'm sorry, one more time, Jimmy.
I'm sorry. I said that you just increased repairs because you're running short now and you just wanna prepare for the future, which is, everything's going up in cost.
And I don't know how long it's been, but that's the first increases in that spending budget since I've been here. So,
I don't think we've increased it much since you've been here.
no, that's the first time, just those 2 items, and
Yeah.
we just had some expensive ones, like
Yeah.
even my car, we had that fire on Gates Pond, I was working up in front of the building, when the guys walked back to the car and let it run and cut out right in the middle of the fire, so it's like, it is what it is. Deal with it. So, there was some substantial repairs there, for one of the ambulances went down, that was substantial, that was probably the biggest hit, was just shy of $5,000 for that, for a trouble, so. Challenging, but it is what it is. After doing business, our chief told me. That's what I got on the personnel side. Do you want to jump into the capital?
Yeah, do we have any paperwork on capital, or am I missing something?
Nope, I didn't print it, but you have access to the Google folder.
If you wanna look at it, Stan,
There's,
I'll bring it over for you.
I'm bringing my computer the next time.
there's 2 items. If you want, the sheet is, they're gonna make copies, or you want me to?
No, that's okay, we
Just
all
hang
have
on a
access
minute.
to it, so
Okay.
just give me 2 seconds.
There's, in the normal replacement cycle, my car, which it's called 6C, it's identified as that, is up for replacement. It got just over 104,000 miles. It's a 16 Expedition. Like I said, we just had some issues with it maintenance-wise. And the platform operationally is very sound for what we do. It's like a mobile office for me. The back seat is full of my turnout gear, my air pack, and my green jacket in the back has all the kind of control function equipment that I use on every incident that we go to. So, the cost that you see there, 53, the 936 is to replace the vehicle, same type of model. I have to do some looking after meeting with the CIC last week to see what they got available for, like green vehicles. But there's not really a lot of vehicle in that model size, so but I have to spend the time and diligence to do that. And, one of the things on that, and I've had a lot of discussion with Chief Shatner, is the communication costs. We're in a kind of a unique situation here. I don't know if it's good or bad, but we have to have direct communications instant with 3 RIF bands, the 800 UHF, which we are, is ultra high frequency, and then very high frequency, which is the VHF, which is Northbro, and then the other, with the exception of Marlboro, everyone else around us uses UHF, and then Marlboro is 800. So you can't get away with 1 radio, you have to have 3. My car's got 3 in it now. What they're going through now, and we just did with the Tender, the new tanker truck that we got, was buy what they call a tri-band radio, but they're expensive because they cover all 3. There's no savings because you buy it all in one package. They still charge you the cost of 3 radios to do it. So it's like, and that really drives up the cost of the vehicle, the sticker shock, so to speak. And it's 8621 to get it, to purchase it and get it installed, that radio. The communications is critical. It got fired a couple weeks ago. We used every frequency a number of times. So it's like it's used, the 800 Marlboro one might be quiet for a couple of weeks before we use it, but my question would be to like, should, and it's to this group, is should we include that in the cost so there's a true cost? Or do the chief had a really good idea to start like a communications line to start a line item that we can put the communications money in, because it does, even gives me sticker shock to talk about the communications attached to a vehicle, which are expensive anyways. So, and it's a question, I can do it either way that you want. I can put it with the vehicle, or I can put it on a separate communications line, and that would just go, we know that 8621 would go to the fire department car if that arrived. And I'm not sure what your feelings on that are. And
I guess it depends on whether it'd be a recurring. I mean, I
it
think
would,
it
it
should
would
be.
be it would last the life of the car. So the
Right,
cars are
but
good
is
for
it-
like
Is this gonna be an
10,
expense
12
that happens
years.
every year?
No, just,
Okay,
it would
then-
be the life of the car.
And I don't see any reason, I personally don't see a reason to create a separate line item. I feel like
Okay.
if it's
Put it
part of
in
the cost of this car.
Okay, so it would just be added to that,
So Chief Clark, you also put it through the capital planning committee as a total
we talked about the
package.
same way.
The total
We talked about the
package,
same
right.
way. They didn't really decide yet on how to do it, but we know we have to have
Yeah, okay.
communications as just a critical component of the vehicle.
Mhm.
And it's like, and I thought that, in our discussion with the chief, we thought that would be like maybe a good way to take the sticker shock away or something, but it's all what you wanna do. You know, you can do it either way.
It's the cost of the vehicle.
Exactly.
It'd be like
Cost of
saying a
doing
fire
it.
truck, we don't price in the ladder, but we, price it separately. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
piece, necessary piece of equipment as part of this vehicle. and-
Okay, so that 8621 will be added to the 53 that's there, the 53 now.
Oh, that's added to it, got it,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so I can do that, thank you. The other thing that I added on here.
But actually, before we move on,
Right,
is
okay.
this rolling time, is this time to replace it, or is this because of failing, because of require extra maintenance, or is this just time now, do it based on?
Well, I think the extra
the cycle?
maintenance added to that a couple of weeks ago, I think it's at the point, but 104,000 miles. I've never operated to be honest with you, a public safety vehicle with more than 80,000 miles,
No.
and we got 104 on this. So it's in the natural replacement cycle,
Okay,
and would it come up even if it didn't?
yeah, I know that the police cars come up on the rolling and
Yeah.
capital, we deal with that, and I
think
personally don't have any
that-
cars under 100,000, but,
And,
215.
yeah, and I think that this one is a 10-plus year vehicle when you buy it, not, so it's like,
right, so how old is the current,
it had a ton of miles, it's a 16.
it's a
When I
6?
got it in 19, it had just shy of 80,000 miles in. So it has a lot of miles.
Do we have any idea what the value is on it? You say you wanna
No
keep it
idea.
in?
Actually, that's another good question, is I'd like to repurpose it we had a 5-engine vehicle we had to take out of service. It was an old police cruiser with 114 or 16,000 miles on it, and we had to take that out of service because it had upwards of $8,000 to $9,000 worth of repairs on it. And I asked the guy, and I've grown to have some faith in a local garage at Ruse, if people have positive and good thoughts about it maybe, but I asked him, I need your opinion as a taxpayer and as a garage guy. With this list of repairs, what would you do? He said, Chief, I take it out of service. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even waste the money on it, because it's just like a huge waste of money, he said, so. And it's beat.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much always have a police vehicle coming off
Yeah.
of
And I think for.
service every year. I
Yeah.
don't know if they would be,
And I think they have something becoming available shortly that can get us through the time from now until, if this vehicle was approved and voted and positively endorsed, to get us through is the, what is it, a Prius? It's like the one the chief used to drive. That's gonna become available, the chief said. So we can use that until July when the new one came and got in service.
mhm.
Does that make sense? I said that. Then the one other thing on the equipment list is, I've been blessed to respond to a lot of calls. And we spend a lot of time on the highway along with the streets. For some reason, you have a high number of motor vehicle accidents. And one of the things that we don't have is an airbag rescue system. And it's inflatable bags that you can inflate. There's 7 different size bags, anywhere from this big up into a rectangular one about that big. And I've had them in my repertoire for rescue since 1973. And this one is, we don't have that capability here. And we had a very high profile incident a little while ago, close to this building, where if that had been present along with other equipment, would have hastened the removal of, on a specific call. So it's like, kind of drove the point home. It's been on my mind since I've been here that we don't have the capability. And that response drove it home. And this is just like the starter kit for that airbag rescue system. And it's like, but it's fully, the system operates off SCBA bottles, which the guys were in the back, screw a regulator on, put a dead man on, and it can fill 2 bags at the same time. The hoses are color coordinated, so you can say fill the green, fill the red, whatever color you got on it, and things raise. Goes along with cribbing.
So that's what, when you say airbag rescue system, it's an inflatable bag that allows them to
Lift something.
lift them. This is
Yeah.
not the car, this is not a vehicle's airbag, this is.
Exactly.
this is-
It's like it's a system that you can, and the different bags are rated for different
Got it.
weight, up to tons. You can lift with the larger ones,
Mhm.
along with cribbing. So it's one of those things, it's kind of like,
Like pop open doors, I mean,
oh, there's other things that do that, but there's a lot of things it will do. You can put them on a cylinder that's leaking in with a strap and tighten it and stop the leak.
Mm.
There's a lot of things you can do with them. And it's just, it's like those tools that are only as good as the people who are operating it. So it's like, but that's just something that they don't have.
but you said this is like a starter kit, so this
Yeah.
is this not?
That's like, that's what, the level that they do here, that's fine. You know,
Could have used that on Skip, just so you know.
and that's what I was, I didn't want to say that,
I don't mind saying it.
you know, so it's like.
I was thinking it's.
I'm gonna
That's
say
what I was
it,
kinda
that's
referring
where
to,
it
high
definitely
profile.
was needed.
Yeah, so it's like, that
I was kinda surprised we didn't have one, to be honest with you.
To tell you. Yep, it's not there, so it's like, yep, I'm surprised. But, so that's the 2 things that I have on the capital there. And, is there any questions on that? And actually, we get free training with that too. So it's like, someone has already offered to come in and do free training 2 nights to help us train with that.
And you said this is a 15-year useful life is what they.
I'm sorry, what?
It has a 15-year
Yeah,
useful life?
yeah. I had some that were running into 20s or 30s, so I don't know how long the new old ones are gonna hold up, but the older ones were very, very durable. So it's like, I would be surprised if that was lengthened.
Anyone else?
Nope, I looked at it earlier.
Yeah, things look good to me.
All right, anything else from you, sir?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Same.
Holiday.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just.
Don't
gonna-
spoil that little girl too.
It timed out there.
I timed out, well, I don't think the assessor has any
It
I was
timed
time.
just
out.
gonna say you're already.
No, this
So-
one should be quick.
It timed out. That's okay.
Thank you for your
See
time.
what you do. Thank you.
How you doing?
Good and you?
You got it. This one's all warm if you want.
Well, hello there, young lady.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Pretty good. You know, pretty much,
You want to assess some more things for next year, do you?
yes. I want to assess everything.
Do you? Yeah, you're like that, aren't you?
Well, you know, if it wasn't for the assessing department, you wouldn't have any money, so
This is true.
There you go.
we are important.
We also pay more taxes because of it.
Yeah, I know. She didn't bring that up, I know. I know that, yeah.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, but see, you wouldn't
Yeah, but-
be able to start.
It's okay,
so-
Molly. We get it. Double-edged sword.
Yep. All right.
So we are looking at a new piece of a new tool. It's called Nearmap. It's a subscription service, and they fly the state two times a year with no leaves. So it's much better than the state's GIS system,
Mhm.
because the last time it was flown for them was 2019. The board did a demo on this recently, which I can send you the link because it was during COVID. Excuse me. But because of COVID, we've lost a lot of our data collection for cyclical, so we're really behind on that. So this was one of the ways that my contemporaries had jumped on the bandwagon to be able to finish their cyclical. We had just started our new cyclical thing, so we had a little bit of leeway there, but now we're getting really far behind. So the subscription fee is $7,250 for a year, but it would include that, the building inspector could use it to see if people aren't pulling permits for their decks and their air conditioners and their sheds. The Conservation Commission could use it, they could, not that they're engineers, but they could see where the wetlands are. I'm sure planning could use it to see where the setbacks are and everything. So it's going to be beneficial to almost every department in town, not just to me. Fire and police should be able to use it. So that was one of the things. We're gonna try it for 6 months this year, and I'm sure that it's gonna work out really good, and we're gonna make up that cyclical data inspection that we've got. But that's basically the only thing that we're.
So that subscription, do you get like one login? Or does it go by seats, or how do they?
It says unlimited users, but I'm going to double check that because I don't necessarily trust unlimited. That just seems way too.
Especially on software.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really software. That's the good thing about it. You don't have to have a server for the GIS platform, which is very complicated, and you need a degree in engineering to run it. So this is just a much more simpler.
So you log into their website?
Yep. You
So-
log into the website, you put in an address, and it is very amazing. You can go all the way down, stand in front of the house, and walk around it.
And
So
it's done twice a year?
they fly twice a year, so your maps are constantly being updated. I mean, well, your views are being constantly updated, and they fly when there's no leaves. Where
When you say, so your maps are updated twice a year?
so thank you. Their images are updated twice a year.
Yeah, I got it.
I have to tell you, Molly, there's a line in here in this that says they fly the state 3 to 4 times a year, leaves off, and I went, what?
Leaves off.
No, then I read it again, and I said, oh, I think I know what she means. They don't go in the summer. I thought maybe half the sentence was missing.
Near map. So is this reduction in GIS because you're getting this?
Yes, we won't need to have, we won't need to have that license anymore.
Right.
Are the other previous ones required servers and other things too?
Yeah, GIS is pretty, the whole platform of GIS is very, computer, a
You
lot
have to have
of
the
space.
hardware here.
Yeah,
Is that something you'd retire then? Or is other machine or things that are running off?
well, actually for that, that's a license to be able to view our maps on our, valuation software on Vision, which you can access all the property record cards, and there are maps on that. That's for that. So we have been saving the town money by not having to have it in-house. We've pushed it all off to the cloud.
And how are you able to use this near map for 6 months on a trial? If they're giving it to you to try it, or
No, we
are
have,
you just absorbing the cost?
I'm absorbing the cost, we're absorbing the cost.
Right.
So when are you gonna start this,
Um,
your maps?
By the beginning of January. And then, so we're in the process of getting our personal property software changed that we asked for last year. So that's why our reval budget has gone down so much. And then for some of these hard costs, the maintenance and stuff, I'm still waiting for budget estimates. Or better budget estimates. It was kind of early when I called and asked everybody. They were in a panic. Oh, what?
I'm
And
sorry,
then
can
just-
you state, so what's reduced, what's the?
I'm in account 142,
Yeah,
the
the PP software change,
Yeah.
is that what that says?
personal property software change.
Okay. So it's an expense in 22, but not in 23?
Correct, because then it will just be a maintenance fee after that.
So we're getting two new softwares. We're getting the near maps and the PP software.
Yes. But different, we,
I know.
okay. And that will be in the cloud too.
Do you know what the maintenance fee will be for the,
Yes, it's on,
oh, I see it. No, that's VP, I don't, VP, I don't see it. You see it?
yeah, it's on that 142 because it's valuation and maintenance. So it's that 37.5 and then the 504 valuations. I mean 42, I'm looking at the wrong column.
So the maintenance fee is gonna be 42
Well,
plus
it's actually,
75.
it's actually the valuations and the maintenance. They didn't give me a quote to split it out. So, I mean, when I asked for budget estimates, that's what they gave me. I don't know if they'll split it out going forward. I can find that out, so I can split it between 141 and 142 if it's,
I guess I don't understand what the change is on this. So this is, what's going away? You just still have so you still have these, I'm confused what the maintenance is versus the software. or what-
I shouldn't have said maintenance. So right there. So 141 is for valuation services. So we have
Okay.
the interim, both the interim for real estate and for personal property. And then the 504 valuations are for those 3 properties we have that the state made us change our valuation methods on.
Right. So you said, what's 504?
Those are the 504s are the 3 utility companies that we had to change our valuation process on.
So what is PP software replacing?
The personal property software we have now, which is very antiquated.
What is the cost of that? What am I looking at for comparison? Like, what do we call?
37.5.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, I got it now. Sorry. So this is replacing this. Okay. Sorry.
No problem. It's like,
Anything else? All right, well, thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Molly. I'll let you know if
Happy
I-
holidays.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Hello. Welcome.
You need another chair?
Sit up here.
People like taking those.
How you doing?
There's some handouts.
Here we go.
Thank you.
You're right here.
Oh, we got them in color. I got a black and white one.
Print dye. Just print
And I think Margaret made us copies. Thank you.
I had extras from last night.
Gave them the low quality.
That's all we can afford.
Yeah, we heard the costs were going up, so we tried to save where we
You're
could.
gonna have to stick with the black and white. You must have seen the school budget.
Our default setting is black and white, I wanted to say that.
No, color is helpful for this.
There we go.
Yep.
Thank you for having us tonight. We presented to the school committee last night, and whoever was there, I know Margaret was there, thank you for being there last night, Margaret, we appreciate it. So I'll say what I said then, don't panic. Don't panic yet. We're presenting a budget differently than we normally would. One is because by and large we have a new school committee. Susan Henry is our veteran. And so we made a commitment as a school district to go through every process we had from the ground up so that they could learn it. So that's the first thing. And the other thing is that, typically by the time we get before the boards, or before we get even before the school committee, the budget has really been pared down. And we thought especially this year, and I'll go into why, that it would be negligent for us not to show the community, all of the community, all of the student needs that we have. And this will be published, we'll put this in our newsletter this week, and take input on it also from the community. With high sped costs, higher ELL populations, we've almost quadrupled our English learner population in less than 6 months in the district, which is unheard of. And we have no full-time English learner staff that we employ right now. We haven't needed them. We're seeing increased anxiety amongst our students, increased trauma, cutting, eating disorders, things like outplacements. For example, a student, a student that's in need and might need a 45-day outplacement. We used to be able to arrange that within 1 to 3 or 4 days. It's a 6-month wait, right across the state. So a lot of these services that we used to be able to kind of outsource temporarily are things that we now are finding we have to, if we want to service our students, we have to do inside the schools, especially in our counseling office, especially is taking the brunt. And then of course, parents are still expecting us to move programming forward for their children. So the budgets, obviously this is a prelim, but these budgets of 2 to 2.5% are becoming more and more difficult, and will become more and more difficult over the years to maintain in the schools, as long as the populations increase, as long as we are seeing these social emotional issues with our students that don't seem to be slowing down, unfortunately. You'll see, along with that, you'll see that there's a theme in this budget. It's really just an investment in our people, an investment in personnel. And that's for 2 reasons. One is that we've been able to take a look back at the last 18 to 24 months, and one of the things we realize is that the way around this isn't or the way to solve this or help our students is not by buying more stuff right now. It's to invest in the people that can help our students get through much of this, again, while still increasing programming. And we also lost some, over the last 18 to 24 months, lost some of the direct instruction that helps our students. And always the students who suffer, the ones who can least afford not to be out of school, can least afford to not be in a hybrid. And that's what we're seeing, we're playing catch up with a lot of that. And that accounts for some of this budget. The other thing is our district improvement plan. When we looked at it, and when we presented it especially, and we saw the look on the school committee's faces, and even when we looked at it, the school district, we realized it was a 5-year district improvement plan, and that we were in the 4th year of that, and it's become very fragmented over the last 2 years, mostly because of COVID. We've got a lot done. With your support, we got a lot done. But it's just, if you look at it now, we color code things when we don't finish them, or we partially finish, it looks like a color wheel in there now. So we made a commitment to this, starting this spring and into the summer, to recreate that district improvement plan as for a 3-year district improvement plan. And that, and put in the important things. I mean, certainly our focus now is slightly different than it was when we created this in 2018. So, and the tie-in here is this: what doesn't make the cut here doesn't mean it's not important. You will see that again, and the school committee will vote on it. It will appear in the district improvement plan. So if it's not put in now, it will be put in over, it will be phased in over the next 3 years in that transitional plan. So the things you see here, we will prioritize, and we will decide what kind of makes it to the final round and what goes. So tonight, we won't do the presentation we did yesterday. And Bob's just going to summarize some things for you. So if there's no questions on like the high level view,
Okay, so first I just wanted to say that we received a communication from, I believe it was FinCom, Select Board, and we will be working for the open budget hearing to have the requested information on grants we're receiving, line item budgets and all that information. So that is on our radar for the open budget hearing in February. I'm going to talk about we presented this in 2 ways. The top section is what we refer to as our level service budget for basically all of our existing programs, existing staff, and factoring in contractual increases both with vendors and with staff. And in addition, part of the level service is meeting our special ed mandated requirements that are outlined in student IEPs. And so I first wanted to kind of jump into that. So that's what our level service budget is basically the cost of running the school district, the same way as we did last year, and factoring in new students in the district. The first 3 items relate to special education. So I've kind of outlined it. We wanted to get kind of a 1-page high-level summary so people could see, at the district level by school, what was impacting the budgets. So Berlin's, I'll comment mostly on Berlin and Tohoto, but these themes affect all 3 schools, probably Boylston Elementary the most, but we've had out-of-district tuitions. We've had 4 students move into the district within the past year, and all 4 of them are here now. 2 in Berlin Memorial, 2 that would be in Berlin Memorial, 1 that would be in Boylston Elementary, and 1 Tohoto student. All 4 of these are at placements out of district. Out of district placements can range from $60,000 to over $300,000. One of these placements is in fact over $300,000, and we're splitting it because we're splitting with another district based on the rules related to that placement. So that's impacting our budget significantly. In total across the 3 schools, that's $690,000, with Berlin's share of that $189,000 and Tohonto's $373,000. So it has a huge impact on our budget. We also have paraprofessionals, more students needing one-to-one supports than previously. Again, related to social emotional kind of challenges during COVID. That's not affecting Berlin Memorial. It's affecting Boylston Elementary, 3 additional paraprofessionals, and Tohoto with 2. We're not going to go too much into, Jeff said, be alarmed, we're gonna look more at this. One of the things I'll just make some comments on these. So the sped paraprofessionals, one of the things we'll look at is, are there grant funds we can use to pay for, maybe an additional paraprofessional, one of these paraprofessionals at Tohoto, one of these at Boylston. We just wanna make sure that if we are accessing grant funds, we can do so sustainably and not just pushing a problem down the road. And sped contract services includes things like PT, OT, vision, student with music therapy. So those are all related to PT, that's another driver. If you look at, in total at district-wide budget, we have an overall increase of 7.3%. 4.5 of that is related to the top three lines. Without that, we'd be at a 2.8% increase. The contractual increases here are for our teachers union, that's steps that they progress. And if they get advanced, professional advancement, they move into a higher lane. I don't know if you've seen the teacher contracts, but we have kind of a step ladder, and as you advance professionally in education, you move into a higher cost lane. So that's what that increase is. The next three lines relate to each other: healthcare, OPEB, and sped reserve. Last month, I think like you, we also have Maya as an insurer for healthcare. We got a 1-month premium holiday. So we took the savings from that and reduced our budget, but we put it towards an OPEB contribution and sped reserve contribution. We did not want to decrease the budget without putting it somewhere else, because we'd have basically an added month this year plus whatever their increase was this year. So we didn't want to have too much of a jump. So we did make those contributions towards OPEB and the sped reserve. So you see the amounts that are decreasing for OPEB and sped reserve. That's because we budgeted that on a one-time basis from the savings in the 1 month of healthcare last year. We were given guidance to expect about an 8% increase. These numbers are less than 8% because participation levels are less than we had planned for during last budget process, and some of the replacement hires didn't enroll or enrolled in an individual instead of a family plan. So it actually had a very small impact on the Berlin Memorial budget. It certainly affected Boylston and Tohoto more significantly. The math tutor is a position that we had full-time in Berlin, and under our new model, it previously was a specialist role that provided direct instruction to direct support to students. So now we have a new model where we have this position is now district-wide coach to elementary teachers in both schools, and it's supported. The direct services are provided by lower cost, but there are tutors in each school that provide the direct services with some direction from the coach. This ends up providing more consistent instruction and guidance in the math area across the elementary schools, and it actually saves Berlin a little bit because of the shift of half the salary of this person, which is slightly offset by the tutor cost. There's also some technology and telecom service contracts. We had to add some things during the pandemic. We went to one-to-one technology. Previously, students didn't take the devices home. We basically had carts in classrooms. With that, with students taking them home, we have requirements for Child Internet Protection Act to have web filtering if they take these home, which was previously built into the school system, but we had to pay for a service to do that when they take them home. We have Zoom that's included here, communications for video conferencing, which we are still using. We're looking at downgrading to something above the free license, but something not as comprehensive as the one we had now, where we need to have large-scale webinars with parents. So we're going to investigate what our options are there. That might come down. The last thing that's in the technology Tohoto, we had ongoing problems with the telephone system, combination of the phone system, which is old, and the wiring, and we have a consultant company that's supporting the system, all from soups to nuts. Is our interface with Verizon, supports the software that we use, and that's something that we needed. We had parents calling in, calls were getting cut, and so that's driving the technology and telecom at Tohoto. So in total, we're at a 7.3% increase across the 3 schools, 6.4% at Berlin, and at Tohoto, and 9.9 at Boylston. And again, we are gonna look at, where our opportunities are to offset some of these, and we plan to present some of those ideas to our school committee at the January meeting, in between the January, so we can kind of get some of those on the table, and also get feedback on those. One of the things we do have in Berlin is a healthy school choice reserve, and relatively solid base. That's something we could look at as well. But we'll kind of outline that, what capacity we think we have in those areas, and share those, and certainly after the school committee, share them with the town.
Yeah, we'll just go over just quickly some of these above level service that pertain to BMS and Tohoto. One is the floating nurse. We have 3 nurses in the district. Currently this year, we have also hired a contracted floating nurse who goes among the 3 buildings and assists with COVID-related issues, which we have a few of them, as you know, and just helps load data. We also have a healthcare professional that's provided through a company called CIC Health, and that's paid for by the Department of Education. The floating nurse here is put in as a 1-year position, mostly because right now we don't know if the Department of Ed is going to contract with CIC Health to provide a free healthcare professional, and that's something we should know shortly. But certainly the testing, the stay in test testing, and all of these issues related to COVID, and plus a lot of the mental health issues that the nurses, the safety issues that the nurses see, they do need help with it. They're seeing an increase. The curriculum assistant, that's an assistant for our assistant superintendent. We currently have a part-time position. We'd like to make it a full-time position. It is a critical position. Everything that's related to teaching and learning in the district is overseen by our assistant superintendent. And really the job should be a job that's in the building and not someone who sits behind a desk. Carol, on a regular basis, works with teacher groups, planning professional development. She oversees direct instruction that's going on. She works with principals. And really, her job is, mostly in the buildings. And she hasn't been able to do that. She really needs to be able to hand off 3 to 5 articles a day to an assistant and say, I'm going to be back at 3 o'clock. I need you to do this work on them, and I'll finish them up when I get back. And that hasn't happened. So she's stuck behind her desk more than she would like to be, and more than we would like her to be. I don't have my glasses, I can't see. Oh, the ELA coach, that's the counterpart to the math coach. We had a program in a district improvement plan to implement a full-time math coach, full-time literacy coach. And so this is the counterpart to the math coach that will be shared between both BMS and BES. Let's see.
I guess could be the small, but with the Tohoto, the 2 big ones at Tohoto.
There we go. I'm going to go to the counseling department. One of the things that was in the district improvement plan that we planned on doing is starting a career outreach sort of program, an internship shadowing program. We have somebody right now who's creating a database. This will allow 11th and 12th graders to go out and part of the day and either do have shadowing or internship experiences with industry around the area. It's really gonna be a 3-year program. But the big piece of this is that we want to hire an additional guidance staff. Currently, we only have 2 for the middle and high school. This will allow us to put 1 in the middle school just to handle many of the issues that we're seeing with our grades 6 through 8, 1 to hide 9 and 10, 1 to handle 9 and 10, and another 1 to handle 11 and 12, plus the intern and shadowing experience. Again, that's, all the positions on here, if I had to rank 1, it would be that, given the amount of social emotional issues that we're seeing. And then the Honto STEM teacher, this is really a 2-for-1. We have an athletic director who's a part-time athletic director, and he teaches 3 math courses. So we wanted to hire 1 more STEM teacher, so that we can move those courses away from the athletic director, make the athletic director full-time. I'll talk about that in a second. But then it allows for an expansion of the STEM classes at the high school. Again, along with what we're seeing in the schools, we want our AD to not only do the athletic director functions, but also to start providing some workshops and for our students, for things like leadership, collegiality, things like that. Which we think are going to be beneficial to our students.
You want me to address the school choice?
Yeah, if you can do the school choice, yeah.
Another item we have on here is to reduce our usage of school choice. It's on there for Boylston Elementary and for Tohoto. We receive $5,000 per student for students from other towns that attend our district, plus an increment for any special ed costs that we have to support those students. So we take in across the district about $525,000, but we budget to spend about $800,000. So it's not sustainable. However, I should also say, we can't afford to do that. We can afford to do that because we have healthy reserves. And when we see those reserves start to come down, we're going to have to stop doing it. So this is I would say, a reminder to us that at some point we need to budget this. This is probably not the year given where we see our increases, and this is probably something that, I think is going to drop off the list, but we wanted to be transparent about it and note it. We could potentially, even I mentioned before, in Berlin, we're in much better shape, Berlin Memorial. That's something where we could potentially access more of school choice than we are now if we needed to.
When you're saying access more school choice, I mean, reducing the headcount here, or are you talking about what you're taking from the reserves?
No, I'm saying, assuming we take in the students that we take in, and I know we take in 525,000. We budget to, for Berlin Memorial, we take in about 100. I think we budget to spend just under that now. The students went up last year after we budgeted, so we take in 100,000. We budget to spend 80. We could increase it. We could increase it even potentially a little bit more because you have a reserve. Not making any changes to the number of students that are here. Just say we could spend more of it in the budget. And when we spend it, we use it as an offset to teacher salaries. So when you see your teacher salaries line in the budget, that's net of what we apply, that 80,000 in school choice to teacher salaries. So there's potential opportunity to use a little bit more of that.
So, Bob, excuse me, what's the size of that reserve?
500,000-ish. I do think we're going to need some of it for. We have a couple one-time items that I don't think we should use the budget for. I anticipate we potentially would need to use some of it for a new reading program, which you kind of pay for all up front, but it's like 5 to 7 year program. And we also, I anticipate that we've gotten a revised pricing on the work on the gym HVAC access, and we have a new design dock. Updated pricing based on steel prices, things changing, and contractors being less available. And I think we're going to need to access some of the school choice for that. And I would do, for something like that where it's one time, I don't think that's something we should budget. We do have capital set aside for it, but any excess when we get the bids, we could use to cover that cost. So it is, in a way, it serves as a capital reserve and stabilization. It's nice to have balance there. We probably we're in a very good place. And again, I do think we have the good ability to maybe access some of it if we needed to for the operating budget.
Earlier on, I got confused there. You indicated that, was it across the whole district? You said you were accessing about 800,000, budgeting about 800,000, but bringing in 500 some thousand?
Correct. That imbalance is in Boylston Elementary and in Tohoto, which is why I'm showing that we should reduce the usage in those two.
Because you said the overall balance in the reserve is just around 500,000.
No, that's what we take in annually, but the overall
That's what you bring
balance
in.
is, 500,000, you're right, is the Berlin Memorial balance. And I
Oh, that's the
tracked-
BMS, just
Yeah.
the BMS balance.
Correct,
Okay.
and I tracked the balances by school because you previously were separate districts and we wanted to keep each district whole with what their balances were, so now we just carry those forward at each school.
What is the Tonto balance at right now?
Approximately 800 to 900. And Boylston's approximately 300.
So I have two questions. You had said earlier, something under the technology, you had Tohono data is already out of date, is already not functional. Is there something not functional already at Tohono you said is out of date?
I was talking about, well, the telephones we had a lot of problems with. And it was more of just, it's old, the system itself is old.
How old can it be, the school's, how old is the school?
Well, the software is, we only have, we do have a vendor that'll support it now. When we first, before I got here, I guess the service contract was ended, I don't know why that was. We now have a vendor that'll support it, but it's an old platform, it's not supported by many vendors.
Did they bring it over from the old school?
I don't think so,
No.
I think it was.
They're just not, they just
Yeah.
don't function for that long.
Plus the infrastructure, even like the wiring they used, I mean, we had, I can't, it was in the hundreds of dropped calls, this fall. And it's partly due, we had Verizon out there and it's partly due to the wiring that's been run. And actually the way we solved it is we have the bank that's in there.
Mhm.
And when they came in, they ran their own line, a modern line. So the telephone people came and hooked us into that line, an old line. Their old line is the new line we use. They even have an updated one. And that was just to prevent calls from being dropped. I mean, we get parent complaints to be in the middle of a call, but it's a safety issue too, because if you call out, and if there's an emergency, you can't use cell phones in the building. And if your landline can't call out reliably, it becomes a problem. So it becomes a safety issue. We had them work all fall just to make sure that we're not dropping calls, but it's temporary. We're using an old bank line to do this, so it's just a patch.
Okay, and then my other question was that you said that under the ELA coach, it's shared. So is that one position that's 52,000 at each school?
One's shared across both schools plus benefits included in that number.
Okay, so the cost of that position is 105, like 105,000.
Yes.
That benefit. Which is similar to the STEM teacher at Tohono.
Right.
Okay.
You know, I know we talked about a lot, I just wanted to mention that there is a write-up and explanation, you know, I know you, so just so you have it. We also felt that was important for our school committee to have, because we go through these presentations and sometimes our slides are bullet points and it's hard to retain.
And to release it to the public so that they would, because sometimes they see these numbers, they have no framework for them, and you have some, but, you know, the public usually doesn't. So we wanted to go through each item for them and explain what each of these things are.
I had a couple other quick things just to show you too when you look at this. There's a chart here that shows per pupil expenditures by district. And these are the comparable districts that the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed, that's what DESI is. These are what they can view as the comparable districts in terms of demographics, their districts, demographics being affluence, and Also, size, these are mostly, I think, 1,000 to 2,100 students, each of these districts. So I just thought that was helpful to have for context when we talk about what we spend relative to other districts when we're presenting our numbers. And we're going to try to keep that in our presentations.
And that's a total, so it's not per school.
Yeah, it's per student.
Yeah.
For the district. And then we have the capital requests at the end. And I'll skip over Boylston. So our roadmap for capital items is the facilities assessment that was done. That was very helpful. We got that funded through you approved us to have consultants come in. I think it was last year. I know Margaret was there, some other people, I think maybe Chris Keefe attended at Berlin Memorial where we kind of walked through the assessment. The report was helpful. It showed we didn't have anything that was what they would call level 1 critical priorities. So not anything was listed there. The level 2 priorities include the HVAC project, ceiling access in the gym. That includes this entry egress, ceiling work, and there's some other smaller things that this will essentially get us through almost all of the level 2 items and nearly all of the dollars. And level 2 is kind of viewed as something we should look at in the next year or two to enable us to go on to level 3. So I will, I'm happy to share that report again. I mean, that is our roadmap for capital planning for Berlin Memorial. And that when we get into level 3, I think we're gonna look at trying to slot those into years. But we'll be using that to guide us. The second item is an enhanced access control system that we had meetings with police and fire departments in both towns as part of our emergency planning, and this was something that was recommended. We currently have this set up in the Boylston Elementary School where you enter the building, and there's a second door that you need to be visible and buzzed in to get access to the building. So Boylston Elementary is the one school that has this. Both Berlin and Tohoto do not. It's recommended for kind of best practice for school security. The total is $68,000, which is the same as last year. If we did have anything that came out different in price than these, we would fund it, I think, out of school choice. I wouldn't expect it to be too much different than what's listed here, or out of the operating budget if there was funding. For Tohoto, we have a lot of the rooftop units for HVAC the motors are failing. We've replaced several, I think, in the last couple of years. It seems like this started 2 or 3 years ago. And there was nothing, there was no replacements, no capital, nothing happened the first 6 or 7, 8 years in the building. So this is starting to happen. We're finding that we need to replace these, some of them. And we can keep the unit overall, we just need to replace the motors. So this would replace, I believe, 3 motors, include the cost of the motors and labor. This is something over time we could look at building into the operating budget, but we felt like this would be more appropriate in capital at this point. The second item is, again, the security that I talked about. I won't go into that again. It's a little bit more expensive at Tohoto. And the last item is the debt service on building bonds, which we did refinance last year at a significant savings. So that baseline from last year, this is about the same as what last year was. I think it's actually slightly less, by a couple $1,000. So overall, the capital at Tohoto is a 1.9% increase, primarily because of the 2 smaller items there. And that's where we are right now in December. We do, like I heard the head of the assessment department mention that there's a lot of estimates. We do get a lot of information from the state in January. that drives our assessments, the Chapter 70 revenue, Chapter 71 revenue. We also get more information on expenses, including our healthcare, what we have as an estimate, but they're not gonna give us the official information. Usually we get it right verbally, right before our budget open hearing. So there are things that we're gonna look at, and we anticipate changes, hopefully, in, most of them. Well, I think more of them will be in the right direction than not, but we'll keep people updated as we move forward.
Well, it's,
You're
what
happy
it
now,
is,
right?
yeah.
So we went through it, now it's the process.
It is what it is.
all right, any other questions?
No, but I'm gonna say, as a parent and a nurse, I am so happy to see that they're looking at the social, emotional, and well-being of not just our student, but our staff. And as a nurse at Maynard High School, I am agreeing 100% with you. It has been a heck of a 2 years, and I think this fall was worse than the previous. And I said that to my superintendent in May. I said, y'all are looking backwards, but I think we need to be looking forward,
Yeah.
because this, and they're still laughing at me. None of them believed me.
No, it's nothing to laugh about. The principals have said it, I've noticed it.
Oh,
You and
it's
Karen, Bob, we've
unbelievable.
all noticed it. It's much worse, much worse.
I have 3 cots that I don't think I ever used in the first year I was there, and this week alone, they were all filled with crying
Yeah,
and I'm at the
yeah.
high school, crying teenagers.
Yeah,
This has really impacted them. It is so sad.
yeah.
The anxiety and depression, and that these children, and you're dealing with it, and so thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, and we see the trend even at the high school, and you talk about the high school kids, you never really, they're gonna be tough in the face of all this stuff. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone into the guidance office recently and seen kids lined up and sitting on the carpet waiting to be seen, if they can be seen. When I went in there today to talk to the guidance counselor, every one of them, and the social worker and the school psychologists were being utilized, so.
It's tough, and I don't see it getting any better until we can figure out what all this has to do.
Yeah. Well, we talk about our literacy coaches and things, we have a heck of a time now with young kids and teaching reading and things like that, something Cal could speak to, and because of the mask and so I thank you for making that observation.
Yes,
Yeah.
so crucial.
Actually, I had one other question going back, but on the sped reserves, what are your balances there?
50,000, just only 50,000. We just created the fund 3 years ago, and we funded it for the first time last year.
Okay, so you're right now projecting using all of it?
No, we're projecting there, that's one of the things we'll talk about, we potentially could, but I have other things I would put ahead of it. What we're showing is that reduction, is that we're not budgeting to put any money into it. So we put the money into it in FY '22 this year, and next year we're not gonna put the money in, it shows a reduction to our budget.
Okay.
Anything else? Mary, Kelly, you guys good?
Sorry?
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well,
Thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You guys have a great night, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Take care.
Thanks, you too.
All right.
No, just a blast.
Take care.
It does go nice.
I know, thank you. I'm styling it.
This is Stan, I've been sorting through our mail, this is trash, and,
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
well, it's already passed, it's not useful,
I can make a broad general comment regarding all of that. I'll hold my tongue. Everything seems to
the
be
Berlin
fine.
Senior
There's gotta
Citizens
be some.
Associations would like us all to donate to their twinkle thing.
Would they?
There is a serious thing here, which is to the chair, that we're all supposed to have a copy of the
Well, I'll
code of conduct. You might want to officially.
Oh.
Let's plan on it, yeah.
Just so you know.
I'll take two
Oh,
copies.
thank you, Jen.
She's got 5 copies.
Perpetuals.
It has to be professional. And I hope they're
We'll
realizing
get it
that.
every year.
Okay.
Well, that's just,
Yeah, because you know, we're not able to even do what we're supposed to be doing.
So we're supposed to
Which
sign and
is
submit it.
heights, weights, vision, hearing. We can't even get to that with all this COVID stuff.
Are these
That's mandated
to
by
us
the state.
individually, or do we have to do this?
I'm
sorry, do we just do this individually and return it?
I think we're just supposed to
I wish it would.
be given a copy and look at it every year. Is that what?
No,
Is
it's
that agreement
actually-
say?
Um,
It wants us to sign it?
It does.
I think we have to do an attestation.
Okay. And This
Oh.
is the only stuff that you might want to take another look at, and this is the senior.
Do we have to take this class again?
And this is.
I think we just have to read it.
There's a signature line.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would suggest that for appearances, we ought to bring it back next meeting after we've read it and digested it. Yeah,
No, I'm just filling it out because I've already done it at work.
gotcha.
Okay.
All right,
we'll
so
get
that's
that
homework, I'm gonna call that homework.
Homework?
Okay.
It's okay with me.
I won't put the date, okay, Stan, will you be happy about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that Eric Sharpner was on UTSAM.
Yes, he's our new chief.
So we can go to the party, but you have to RSVP.
Uh-huh.
Which is when?
See that.
Is he
It's-
bringing apples? That's the
I don't
right
know
question.
I don't know when he wants it, but it's
Oh, I don't think you have that, I mean, I'm
probably,
gonna pop in,
it's probably for the food, you know, the amount of.
maybe
food.
just to try to get the draft.
So when is it?
Yeah.
Monday evening at,
Monday at
20th,
5:30.
5:30.
I'll
We've got some requests for transfers though.
take a picture of this so I can hold it.
Those are copies of things that we signed,
Oh, okay.
so those are all just copies.
So
I-
these
you
go in
know.
the file.
And this is, yeah, this is clearly round file, it's all about stuff, meetings that have passed and everything else, so.
Is this the stuff that, though, that should go in our file cabinet?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Could I have
You have the
Could I
key.
took the key home too and I'll have to bring it back now? Okay. Wonder what I did with that.
We'll just put it back in the
Pretty sure I have-
mailbox and then it won't leave and
That
it'll
is-
be safe.
That is true. I
No,
can
I'm
do that.
serious.
Do that.
That's,
Well, you know, there's a copy of the whole budget process, the June stuff, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
And you
that-
have to do the budget, your budget.
It's
We have
like,
to do our budget,
along with a lot of others,
Yeah,
but.
it would be really appreciated if you could do your own, your
we
budget.
do our budget, Stan.
Okay.
What is this, our $60 plus our, what is it, our dues, $275 dues?
it certainly isn't our salary.
No.
Just, keep in mind, I didn't know if you're interested in going to any of the, you know, like what's new in municipal law or the new officers thing, that one that you went to, I didn't know if
Yeah,
anybody would be interested, just even as a refresher every once in a while too. I'd be interested, but is it,
When are
last
they?
year was very, strange.
Yeah.
So have they like, are they back to doing regular meetings or is it just?
Virtual, they're still doing
Yeah,
virtual for
most
the
of them
most
are
part.
still virtual right now. Okay, so there isn't really anything to pay for then too? There is, they're actually starting to charge for some of these, not all of
Two
them.
M's, two
but
P's,
some.
and two E's, or just one
Yeah,
P?
you're right.
All three?
No, one,
MMITT.
EE.
All three.
One eye.
One eye.
One eye, but three.
Yeah, I was gonna say
All
just one
content,
eye.
all this.
I don't know if you want to breeze through that.
So while you're doing that, would you all be agreeable to, I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to do your budget meeting calendar, but would you all be agreeable to having police, library, and council on aging come to your next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. so
Margaret,
I'll-
I'm agreeable with however you want to set up the system.
Oh, thank you. If we keep doing 3 at a time, you're gonna be done in no time.
They don't have the meetings set up yet.
Oh, January 5th, okay, so I haven't posted the meeting on my town government, so I'll have to do that right away.
January 5.
January 5 would be your next one, I think.
Yeah.
Paper calendar?
Yeah, there's one. Oh, I don't know if there's, yeah, I think there's copies there.
Alright, so I'll reach out to, and I'll actually schedule them for certain times, so.
Capital planning has theirs, the 6th. I already got my little notice here. They come right to my phone now.
They're on schedule for tomorrow night too.
Yep,
so
I have it
they've got-
tomorrow night, yep.
You've got your last 3 appointments tomorrow night.
I wish they would do live.
Okay, we're on the calendar for January 5, right?
Thank you.
We're on the paper calendar for the room.
That's 2022.
Okay. Yes,
June, do I need to
June.
sign these from August, the ones for these accounts from last year?
June, do you need signatures on this?
That's actually this year, isn't
Yeah.
it? August of this year, it's not last.
Well, how
Yeah.
often do we do this?
You just have to do it at least once.
I have one dated August, one dated
She's
November.
got July.
Yeah,
July,
so you
September,
could just do whatever
October.
the latest and
November, I see
greatest is
July.
that's there, I
It's-
just
it's
do
It says
that.
The
September.
attachments are different than ours.
October,
Over.
whatever.
They, I think for
Well, they
you,
would-
it'd be the same.
Yeah, because they would reflect up-to-date expenditures.
Oh, so
Just
you
show
only
expenditures
care about
As
the
if I know,
October.
because I am
We're not talking
obviously.
about that.
All right, well, I gave you the October and the September ones.
No,
Do we know
I think
what
they're
our dues are?
yours are
Yeah,
probably
they're
the same.
Usually it's
Mostly.
the same until
Do
you
you know
take
what our
it.
dues are this year, June?
I don't know if you guys have already paid it this year. Or did you not?
I did
Well,
that.
we did, on this first, we did 160, which was almost all the money.
And that should be pretty much it.
Oh, it's,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, who are we inviting to the next meeting?
I suggested police, library, and council on aging.
Okay.
Are we updating that?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to, because I just did a bundle thing here. I didn't,
Margaret had some stuff, no?
Margaret, do you have anything else for us?
not tonight. I am gonna, except I'll let you know, I will be uploading, I mentioned that all the capital requests are in that capital folder on the Google
I saw
Drive.
those, yep.
And, I am gonna be uploading all the FY '23 budget requests, but I didn't have time to do them all today, so I only did tonight's. So I'll upload all of those.
You gave us a draft working budget though.
Gave you a draft working budget. This is preliminary. I mean, we still have a lot of blanks. The administrative finance team met today just to begin the process of our revenue projections. So you'll be getting updates on those as you move forward. That's it.
Are you meeting weekly now, or are we still?
January.
So we'll be meeting every Wednesday in
This is,
January? Does that work?
I know the finance committee, I've got your calendar guide here. I think it still says draft, but I think that you approved it and you had a couple of blanks, but it's pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much wrapped up, so it's good.
So, sorry, or we're just planning to meet every Wednesday, every Wednesday in January?
Yeah, that's what our draft budget was, from this point forward, weekly meetings on budget requests.
Okay, but is it just January or is it January through March?
It's January through March, and
Through March.
it's, I think in the past you've done them as you need them. I think last year you were able to, I don't wanna say skip a couple, but you were able to jump a couple of weeks because you were caught up,
I
so.
wanna
Right.
say, was it last, well, before COVID, I don't even know when that was now. But it-
BC.
you guys had it pretty much like all set and ready to go, and then COVID hit, and we had to.
Well,
That's
yeah, that
right.
was that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it
Yeah.
was
Really
March
smooth,
15th,
it
we
was
were
like-
done, and then it was like, are
No,
you
but
kidding?
reopened.
We're not done anymore.
Yeah.
Changed,
They
just
reopened it.
that. I might miss, I might have to miss a few of your meetings in January, but June,
We'll cancel then, don't worry.
June will be here.
Okay,
Do we need to, as a committee, do we think we need to adjust the reserve fund transfer for next year?
I guess the question was, or the reserve fund?
Or not transfer, the reserve fund. So this year we budgeted 95,000, so far we've expended 6,000.
We may have taken out some, I can't remember if we had.
We're down to
from
89.
market
Well, there's
adjustments.
contingency, well, there's reserve fund transfer, there's contingency fund. So those two different things?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so then we haven't done it, we haven't taken any out of it.
We're not, at this
At
point.
this point, I wouldn't expect us to.
Yeah.
but-
and I mean, you can always change it if you need to, if you feel differently later on. Because you are, right?
Yeah, what is that considered on this, which,
You can just put it
supply,
in, if you
under
wanna
other
just,
expense?
yeah, if you're gonna just level fund everything.
Everything, all one line item? Okay.
We don't expect to be doing
I
a
don't know if I have enough
contingency
ink.
line.
I don't know if I have
Just
an ink. to fill
write
in the
small.
full form.
Just
Yeah.
write small.
At this point, we don't anticipate doing another contingency line item, but
Oh, so not
with
even a
COVID
budget for that.
increasing and who knows? You know, at this point, we're thinking it might be phased out, but we'll see.
God, I hope it
Would
I know.
contingency line also cover stuff like unexpected, I'm just thinking of the school with all of their things that are going on with the student population and needing this and that. Would contingency be available for that?
Probably not that, however,
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
and I just briefly talked, with respect to the sped spikes.
Yeah.
Significant spikes,
Yeah, there's some pretty
we,
significant-
we might wanna give some consideration to using, to putting money into stabilization and strategically using some of that to mitigate some of those spikes. And it's something to think about,
Well,
because,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because you know what, it's not going away, it's gonna get worse.
And that's the whole thing, is I mean, we don't wanna use per se something like free cash.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't,
Because it's
I
a,
didn't know what we could do. My mind is thinking the same, I just didn't know where we would pull the money from or what
Mhm.
line item we would use, because
I mean, stabilization is to stabilize, and when you see spikes of this magnitude,
I'm just
we,
curious.
we
It's
might
not
wanna take a look at,
What
Yeah.
if it's not a spike?
Right.
this could be the start of a long-term spike, because if they're in the district for a long time, the costs are gonna continue. Yeah, so
Oh,
we.
yeah, if they're entering the district, a lot of these children enter the district in the preschool because they're 3. And that's when we start them, and their costs, depending on their needs, some get better, some get worse. And
Yeah.
the older they are, sometimes the more they need.
Yeah.
So it is food for thought.
But
It's-
It
it's
is.
every-
Now-
It's everywhere that's seeing it. I mean, I meet every week with a group of nurses, and this is like the discussion with every school.
Right. Last night, we talked a little bit about the state, so the state reimburses sped costs, through sped circuit breaker. And, Bob explained that the school district is responsible for the first $65,000 of the special ed costs. And then the state will reimburse 65 to 75% the following year. I guess I'd like a little more clarity on what they do with that reimbursement and how it's applied to their coming year's budget. So maybe at the next meeting, we can get a little more.
Oh, so when they get that 65, where does that go?
Yes.
I thought it went right back into the same line item, so
Well,
that they
that's
would be
what I'd
having
like,
it for the
well,
next.
that's what I would assume, but I think having details on that would be helpful.
And I guess that was an assumption on my part.
Well, mine too, it would be nice to get
Everything
clarity.
It would be earmarked, that they
You-
can't use it elsewhere, but.
But it's a reimbursement,
Yeah.
right? So,
Considering they haven't put anything really done with the reserves, I mean, the
Mhm.
reserves are almost nothing right now. So-
exactly.
So it must
and-
be going into, well, I'm
Right.
assuming, but
Yeah.
that's going right back into
Yeah,
the.
and we won't see a sizable reimbursement on this year's until next year. So this year,
The other thing is, I don't know what their amount, but the state gave a lot of monies to the school system. I mean, you could go on the DESI website, I have not looked at Tohonto's, but I mean, they gave, like, small towns, like 1.5 million to reimburse,
It's certainly gonna work.
for what they're talking about, and I'm not saying they didn't use it for that, but.
these
I
were the
know-
ESSER funds in the 3 different rounds?
Right,
Mhm.
for like, upgrading, like, so every room could mainstream into the students, you know, every student could get on and be watching and having your classroom on your own. So we spent it a lot on, everybody got a Chromebook, and so that money went to upgrading all the Chromebooks, and then it went to wiring and the classrooms, because everybody needed a TV, you know, I don't know what it's called, but you know. So, I mean, there was a lot of money spent on that.
Your letter, your joint letter with the select board actually requests that information, you know, what they spent their ESSER funds on. And it makes me wonder now, you know, if they're talking technology, would the phone system have been a legitimate? Because they're talking with parents, you know, it's another way to communicate remotely. So I don't know. It's
The other thing the reason he says there's no cell phone use is because there is no cell service at
Right.
Toronto, and that always has bothered me in an emergency situation, because if the phone's not working and your child can't use their cell phone, it really is.
Is it just a dead zone?
It is.
It's a total
Massive
dead
dead
zone.
zone.
It's
It is.
nice for the school because they don't have to worry about the children on their phone all day. We're
I
at
just
Maynard.
assumed it was that they didn't want the kids on the
No,
phones.
you cannot do anything.
Oh, then I could
Basically, anywhere from
definitely see
Barnes Hill
why.
to 290, you don't get any, there's no cell reception.
So it's not
I
just,
would
it's not
love
just
that.
inside, it's
Give me
also
a dead
outside.
Oh, you,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
field, you can't even use your
Nothing.
phone, nothing.
We're from
Yeah.
Route 70,
Right.
basically from the Clinton line all the way into probably Grapefruit Valley. Probably there's
Can we
almost
motion to
nothing. Yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn.
9:10, thank you.